All right, we are live. Just waiting a few seconds so that everybody makes it back to the stage. All right, I think probably everyone saw the message. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to the stage. I'm just here to introduce our next speaker, Cindy, and she's going to be talking about designing in the time of COVID. So let's welcome Cindy to the stage. She's coming live now. Cindy, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Let me share my screen. Just let me know if you are able to see it. It should be there now. Okay, so I'm going to share my presentation. So today we are talking about UX pandemic. My name is Cindy. I'm a user experience, user interface and product designer. Let me just give you a really brief background. I am South African and I've been living in Belgium now for a year and a half. I currently work for AGILE Software. They are a life science and software company. We are currently busy with a clinical intelligence platform for clients in the pharmaceutical and medical industries. And my previous experience was for the world's first behavioral bank. So what is a behavioral bank, you might ask? It's basically a bank that incentivizes you for managing your money better. So they have dynamic interest rates. So if you spend your money better and save better, they basically give you better interest, better credit, better saving rates, and so on. The bank is called Discovery Bank and they are in South Africa. So let's talk about the impact of COVID on the industry. So people's lives have dramatically changed across the globe due to the coronavirus, and it's disrupted almost every sector across the globe. User preferences, behaviors have shifted and are very different now than they were in 2019. The good news, though, is that new opportunities are starting to emerge from the shift in consumer behavior. So I am going to share with you a few examples on how the pandemic has changed some industries. This is not all of the examples. There are many, many others, but these are just a few examples. So the first thing is digital stores. So everyone is buying online. Before COVID, you can actually go into a store and buy items. Now everything is online, a more inclination towards e-commerce. So those who don't have a strong e-commerce portal will need to build one out quickly. As a result, we could see a growth in demand for high-performing UX UI design. Companies must also now rethink like logistics and supply chain, and possibly move away from the most cost-effective thing to more driven by new consumer demands. Then another industry that has changed is the delivery industry. One of the best user experience practices that has come from COVID on the delivery industry is the focus on security by changing the delivery method to contactless delivery. And also a lot of delivery companies are now also just giving tips and tricks on, well, tips and safety measures on the virus. There's also been a really big demand for food delivery apps. So restaurant owners now need to rely on food delivery apps, and they need to digitize the way that they do their food. Rather than people coming to a restaurant, they need to opt for delivery services. And another one is grocery deliveries. With the lockdown, pressures piling up, supermarkets and delivery giants like Amazon Fresh have become overwhelmed, and they actually had to introduce online queues and waiting lists for new customers. Meanwhile, more alternative food projects have adapted faster, and they were able to close that gap. So food deliveries has become, or grocery deliveries have become a normal now. So the next item is online education. So the coronavirus, or the COVID, I'm not sure what to call it. I normally say COVID-19, but it's risen a lot of questions about the future of online education. Will it spur more colleges to launch online programs? What will happen to traditional in-person degrees, and how can schools help instructors keep up with the pace of this change? Online learning will play a much larger role in the higher education sector going forward. Colleges are adapting to this trend in several ways. So some institutions are accelerating the existing online courses, while others need to adapt and they need to create their own online programs. We've also seen a really big surge, or a really big change in security. So most online has increased security. Most consumers tend to be more concerned about security measures taken by web services, and this has increased quite a lot during the COVID times, especially since everyone is buying online. As a result, you can see more verified badges, lock icons, and other copy iconography that reinforces security and safety to users. With the current public health issues, more people engage with the web services. And apart from being focused by security of normal health, they are also concerned about the online security. And these also include software like online shopping to music streaming platforms. All those need to take security in a big factor. So the next thing is workplace modernization. So basically everyone is working from home now, and this has become the norm. Before COVID, I think everyone wished that they can work from home, and I'm sort of wishing I can go back, but yeah, this has become the norm now. So complete workplace modernization will also require fundamental redesign. As more people are now working remotely, we must ensure strong communication and improve workflows. So through smart, empathetic, and data-driven designs, it will be easier to ensure continuous employee engagement and higher motivation that will fuel organization change. So as uncertainties grow, making smart, data-driven decisions is essential in ensuring long-term success of businesses in this new economic landscape. So the next thing that I want to talk about is new technologies. It's not that it's new technologies that are being developed, it's existing technologies that are being used in a new way, or existing technologies that have accelerated quite a lot due to the COVID pandemic. So the first, and also these are not all of the samples. There's quite few others that I can mention, but I can basically have a 30-minute slide or 30-minute session on each of these items. They are very interesting, but so it's just a very brief overview of them. So the first thing is healthcare technology, and the first thing is telemedicine. So the research that I did was mostly on US sites. So there was a shift from 11% interest in telemedicine to 76% now interested in telemedicine. So that's quite a big shift that people are interested in telemedicine. So with the help of telemedicine, physicians, consultants, they can diagnose and treat patients remotely using telecommunication technology. COVID has caused a massive acceleration in the use of telehealth. So consumer adoption has skyrocketed. Some examples I can give you is the app Better Health. You can go on Better Health. Basically, anyone can go on Better Health and receive online consultations and things like that. So the next item is health wearables. So a lot of people now, well, not now, but a lot of people, they've got smartwatches, and most smartwatches, they can monitor a person's heart rate, steps, and sleep patterns. And you can actually use this to monitor your health in other ways that can be stored for your healthcare professional. And then healthcare chatbots. In healthcare, chatbot technology is still in very early stages of implementation, yet it has the potential to become an industry standard in the next few years. Today, hospital and clinics use chatbots mostly for experience optimization. It is expected that digital assistants will eventually become a first line of primary care. And then medical virtual reality. So this is more for healthcare professionals training to become a doctor. So instead of training on real patients, they can train virtually with VR sets and so on. This technology has increased quite a lot during the pandemic. So the next item is virtual tours. So how do you translate the experience of being in a physical space and what it feels like to be there in person for someone who can't be there? Quarantine made this question much more important for industries like real estate, cultural institutions, universities, wedding venues, and even outdoor attractions. While the world currently is in lockdown, many businesses which rely on physical spaces have turned to virtual tours to provide a sense of space for users who are currently unable to visit, especially in real estate. As technology has slowly been maturing in the background for many years, many users, so I'm sure most people have actually been exposed to virtual tours. So for example, Google Maps, the Street View, that's basically a virtual tour. One thing that I can just say about virtual tours and what you need to take in account if you are designing a virtual tour and you need to do UX on it is that most people, when they go on a real estate website, for example, before they even do virtual tours, they like to click through the photos and the videos, because most people feel like virtual tours are, it's a lot to go through. It's something they really need to be interested in before they go into. So engaging photos and videos is something that's important before virtual tours, but it is something that has been accelerated quite a lot during COVID. The next item is augmented reality. So yeah, COVID has supercharged all things virtual, propelling retail industries for the future. Basically, so when you think about augmented reality, you think of try before you buy experiences. So having augmented reality was mostly for big brands like IKEA and Home Depot, and clothing brands like Louis Vuitton and Gucci, where users can use augmented reality to actually try on different clothes, or use augmented reality to see what a different piece of furniture will look like inside of your house before you buy it. This was a nice to have feature, but it's becoming much more important for businesses to have augmented reality. A lot of people, they like to see what certain things look like before they buy it. So this is a good technology to have. So virtual storefront. And before I go to virtual storefronts, another thing, beauty industries, they actually are also adapting to this, because you can't go into a store and try on makeup. They don't allow you to touch any of the makeup. You can't try on samples. And augmented reality actually helps users decide what makeup they can buy, because augmented reality actually helps with that. And then virtual storefront. So retailers are also beginning to use VR technology to reimagine the digital shopping experience with digital storefronts. So basically, using a smartphone, consumers can step inside augmented reality dressing room, mix and match items, and make a purchase without ever leaving your app. They are also trying to develop to have like a virtual mall where you can use augmented reality inside of your house, basically to try on different clothes and things like that. So yeah, it's an enormous value for consumers in the shopping in the shopping journey at the moment. So the next item was, okay, so voice user interface. So what is voice user interface? It allows users to communicate with the system through voice and speech commands. Best known examples, I don't think I actually disconnected my Alexa, so if you just ignore that, is Siri and Google Assistant or Alexa. Those are the most best known examples, but we are changing the way on how we use voice-based technology. Basically, imagine when you want to buy a ticket at the tram stop or something like that, that you can use voice to buy tickets or to open up the tram door. So it basically eliminates the need for touch if you use your voice. So they expect voice user interface technology to become more mainstream in those types of situations. There's several issues still underlying with this, especially using it when you want to open up doors. They are also developing this for ATMs, and you're just actually thinking about the security and things like that. It's still a long way to go, but due to COVID, it is accelerating quite a lot. But for designers, it means we need to understand underlying expectation of voice interfaces, as well as gain a grasp of the principle over human communication. Since voice user interface is very drastically different from a graphical user interface, some design guidelines will not apply to this. So the next item is gesture recognition. So as mentioned before, imagine you are standing at the central station and you want to buy a ticket, or you are standing in McDonald's and you want to buy food. You can use gesture technology. So basically using your hands to buy things instead of touching the screen. So gesture technology is basically, it detects your movements, and the computer device detects the movements and interacts with movements instead of touch. So simple contactless swipes of the hand can control equipment to open doors, interact with screen kiosks. It's a modern way of doing things, and also I think a safe way instead of touching things. A very simple example that I can also give that we are using this quite a lot is when you go to a shop and you want to have the hand sanitizer dispenser. If you put the hand sanitizer goes out. That's a really small example of gesture recognition. It's a sensor that scans your hand. Just some very quick design principles. If you are designing for gesture recognition, because people are moving their arms a lot and doing the thing, they must be comfortable. You must design flexibility. Not everyone can, use their arms or whatever to access those things. So having design for accessibility is quite important. And also anticipate the movement. So if the button is at the top, anticipate those type of things, and define active interactive zones. Make sure the user knows where to go in those ranges. Then I need to hurry up because I still have a few to go. So I'm just going to talk a little bit quicker. So another thing, also existing technology is contactless payments. But for COVID, this has seen a decline in cash quite a lot. So the studies the research that I read for this was mostly in the UK, and around 40%. It was a company called Uber Market that did a survey on 2,000 people in the UK, and they found that around 40% of people are using less money than they did pre-COVID. So many firms and businesses are not using cash anymore. Everything has become cashless payments. They also think that banknotes might be spreading the virus as well. So they advise people to not even use cash at all. The research clearly shows that the coronavirus pandemic has completely transformed the way consumers want to purchase goods and how we use money. Okay, and then the next item is UX in the time of COVID. So the impact of COVID-19 on customer experience, whether you previously prioritized customer experience or not, it's time to reevaluate this term and what it means for your business. Why? Because the customer experience has changed. So a few things: users now have more problems of their own, not that they have before, but now there's more health concerns, economic pressures, job security, cancelled plans. So we need to take those things into account more. Your e-commerce or your app needs to support those items that I mentioned above. And where was I? So your site also needs to have more clarity. So your e-commerce store needs to provide more clarity, predictability, and reassurance. It might be clarity in how you communicate your store updates or changes to delivery options, and how your store takes safety measures towards COVID. As mentioned on previous slides, everything physically needs to be replaced digitally. And then trust is a big thing now, because users can't come to your store or those come to your store, they can't see things. So trust is a big thing now. So empathetic UX during COVID and beyond. So why is empathy necessary? Empathy allows us to dig deep into our understanding of the user and create solutions that will not only solve a need, but effectively improve our users' lives by removing unnecessary pain or friction. Empathy is being used globally in large organizations to solve real world business and innovation challenges. What and how you decide to show the content on your webpage or your app is a great impact on how your users attach themselves in the application. Beyond what you can see, hear, or do, focus on how they feel. While empathy doesn't come easily, it can be developed. I know for a lot of people, it's difficult to put yourself in other people's shoes, but that's something that can be developed. So building empathetic UX. So I'm going to show you what it means and then a few examples. So mindful and non-intrusive. So getting the right information, delivering the right place at the right time is what great UX is all about. So Google, for example, so they've augmented their search engine. So when you search for COVID-19, that they actually have on the side information about COVID. We must rethink on how we display notifications on sites and where we display site information about COVID and those things. Evoke positivity. So with COVID, there's a heavy responsibility, but also a great UX opportunity for practitioners to help companies build trust and differentiate themselves from their competitors. So a big example of evoking positivity is Airbnb and TripAdvisor. The traveling world has drastically gone down due to COVID. No one can travel. But if you go on their website, everything is still positive and they still have a big engagement with their customers. So that's a good example of positivity. Then socially aware UX. So an example of this is Uber, that doesn't allow ride-sharing services anymore due to COVID. Their businesses goes down, but they are more socially aware of, they're more empathetic and socially aware for their consumers. And then anticipate concern. People will wonder what will happen to my delivery. Will my plans get cancelled? Will my delivery get cancelled? All those type of things. Everything is uncertain, so we need to anticipate concerns for our users. So yeah, the best type of this design combines with the understanding of users' needs within a specific and varied context and viewpoint. So I'm sorry, I'm almost done. I know I'm going over time almost. So we've also seen a big growth in agile methodologies. We've seen a very big decline in the waterfall approach. It's because COVID is very unpredictable. So it makes more sense to embrace the agile methodology. It's been on the rise more than it's been ever before. It allows companies to deal with a crisis in a more effective way. Work in short sprints is much easier to adapt and change your strategy depending on the situation. Agile is empowering and it puts trust in your team members. So agile for the win. And then remote workshops. So as a UX designer, I understand doing remote workshops is not the preferred method. We've seen the power of face-to-face meetings, but we need to adapt. So these are just a few tips, small tips, just to do remote workshops. Turn on your camera because you want to see people and you want to interact with people. They want to see your face. You want to see their face. It just makes it more personal. When you're doing remote workshops, give alone time. So give them space to think and do their thing. And use a tool to visualize your ideas. So you can use digital whiteboards. I know in one previous UX beers, we did the sticky note workshop thing. That was quite fun. So there's lots of technologies where you can do those sort of things virtually. What to expect after COVID, there'll be a demand in UX skills because everything is moving to digital. There'll be a bigger demand in UX skills. So more projects will be determined by talent and not by location. As mentioned previously, more empathy will be required. We must expect more continued software disruption. Like nothing is set in stone. We must expect to adapt and change as things go along. And then remote workshops and those things are not nice, but there'll be fewer barriers to user research because everything is going digitally. You can do user research while sitting in your pajamas, and they're sitting in their pajamas, and it's nice. Okay, and the last section is just 3 more slides, is inclusivity. This is something that's really important to me because I am from a third world country. I've seen a lot of people who struggle, who come from a lower social economic background, who are not always able to afford internet and those types of things. So digital inclusion. So during the lockdown, we've seen almost a wide range of services relying on access to digital channels, such as online shopping and job seeking. Being digitally included has also been a vital way for us to stay in touch with many activities, social engagements, cultural and arts organizations, even churches have gone digital. These are very, very important things, and the people's ability to remain connected is very important for our well-being. And there's a huge risk that the older generation are not included with these technologies. So we must take that in account. And it's not just adults who are digitally excluded. It's like I mentioned before, lower social economic groups who are also affected by access to online services, electrical issues, internet availability, speed issues, tools not being up to standard, those type of things. In South Africa, some families, they stay in a really small bedroom, like a family of 5 will stay in a 10 square meter room together. How is it possible for them to actually go to school online? It's not possible. They don't even have clean water. How are they going to get internet to go to school? So we must try and not leave any people behind. So the government must also step in with this. So they must support people getting online in times of crisis, and universal internet availability is the next step to this. So accessible design enables people with a range of abilities and disabilities to perceive, understand, navigate, and interact with and contribute. So we as UX designers are in a unique position to create products that will cater to a full spectrum of potential users. So we must remember, by a virus that knows no borders, to keep no borders when we do user experience design. And then lastly, times are changing, crisis persist, opportunity for innovation. And then companies that are the most flexible and resilient will be the ones who survive. And that's it. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing.
I'm back.
Sorry, I went over time.
No worries at all. It was so much to unpack in your talk. Honestly,
Yes.
I feel like I could talk for hours on
Yes, me
each
too.
of the topics.
I can make a 30-hour slide on each slide.
Yeah, really. And, I always tell people that I think constraints are what drives innovation, really, and cultural change. And COVID has just been like the mother of all constraints. And it constantly amazes me how much this, damned pandemic is driving change and new innovations and new UX patterns that we would have never either dreamed of or never would have thought would come this fast. And it's on so many different levels, and it, in a weird way, almost makes me feel thankful to have lived through this time, because I feel like we are witnessing so much change. So thank you for your talk. I think it really inspired 1,000 questions, especially for me. But I do want to ask kind of just what your take is on sort of the €1 billion question. To what extent do you think these changes are going to stick after the lockdown ends? And from all the things that you kind of described, from the workplace to new technologies, what do you think are the most important things that we should keep and take as a learning going forward?
Well, personally, I think a lot of offices will reduce the amount of people, not firing people, but the amount of people that actually come into the office. I think a lot of changes are going to stick. I think some might not stick as well, just because of security issues. Like I mentioned, the voice activation, I can't see how you can use an ATM with voice. How is the security gonna allow that? But that's the type of technology that they are starting to develop. But other technologies, I like the telehealth, where you can virtually visit a doctor. I think that's something that will stick, and online education, that will definitely stick. But yeah, it's interesting times. So
I definitely agree with you on the work and the school schedule. I mean, I'm with you, where I've always had that dream of I can live anywhere and work from home. But at the same time, oh my gosh, I never anticipated how exhausting it is and how much I miss the office sometimes. But it does seem like a mix of things can be a healthy thing.
Yeah, my big issue with working from home is that there's no switch off. You are at work all the time. When do you switch off? You can't. So that's a challenge a lot of people are facing. But there's other benefits, there's no commuting, so you can exercise more and be more healthy in that way.
True. Yeah, there's a lot of benefits.
Depends how you look at it.
There was a more specific question, and you actually just mentioned it, about voice control. Do you happen to know if voice control is more or less secure than Face ID, or what the outcome is on that?
Well, I can actually give you an example.
Yeah.
I'm not so the bank that I used to work for, so we use the facial. Okay, so I need to give a background to this answer, but in South Africa, when you register your ID document, you have to register your fingerprints and everything, and your photo gets stored in the government site. So the banks are actually using facial recognition to create accounts for people. Then your ID number is there. You don't have to fill in everything. You can literally make a bank account by looking at the phone. So yeah, I think it's So a lot of phones have the
fingerprint thing,
fingerprints thing. So to verify, you verify your face, and then you verify by the fingerprint touch, and that's how they verify you. So I think facial recognition is more secure than voice. A lot of people can remake a voice, change the voice. So I feel facial recognition is more secure than voice. But
True. I'm a fan of Saturday Night Live, and definitely know that people can be very good at impressions.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, I'm going to redirect any other questions or discussions, and I am definitely going to join you in your Q&A session after this talk, because I just feel like there's so many fun things to talk about. Thank you again, Cindy, for joining us and talking about such a relevant and important topic. And thanks for sharing your expertise. So before we sign off tonight, I just want to say, I just want to give a quick update about Hack Your Future. Since this event has started, we've already raised 200 euros from you. And with our match, that means that's already 400 euros, which is fantastic for one event. Thank you so much. I'm quite speechless, and I know Lean is also extremely happy. And I just want to say, you know, even if it's only 5 euros, every tiny bit counts, and know that we're going to double your effort. So please do consider donating to Hack Your Future. And I want to put this out there strongly. If you can't donate yourself, consider volunteering or talk to the company that you work for. You know, as as an agency working in UX or as a business employing UX designers, I mean, they are the future employers for Hack Your Future graduates. And we all benefit from this fresh, diverse new talent entering our market. So, and I also just want to say, like, it's really one of the core reasons why UX Antwerp was founded, was to connect people, create diversity, and give people a feeling of space and of community in this UX industry, so that we can all support each other. So I want to once again thank both of our speakers and thank you for joining us tonight. I really enjoyed tonight's event, and I really hope that we can make December's event very successful. And we'll keep you updated on Slack and through email on the progress that we're making there. So happy November. Thanks again. We won't see you in December, but we'll be in touch, and I hope to all see you in the new year. Enjoy your holidays. Good night.